What happens when you take Lamborghini's most futuristic car and push it even further into a dystopian future? Well, PSC Design has the answer, and it's insane. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and I hope you guys liked that little intro I had for you. And today of course we're checking out a very much new release, and it is a 1/64 scale Lamborghini Countach like you've never seen before. The style is made by PSC Design, and of course it's like a futuristic cyberpunk sort of take on the brand new Lamborghini Countach. So this is an extremely wild car, so let's check it out. But before we do, let's actually have a look at the base variation of the Countach. So this model is made by Mini GT, it is number 567 and came out around last year or so. And of course it's a model of the real world Countach LPI800-4, which is a super rare car. Only 112 of them were made in real life, and it was debuted in 2021 as a kind of tribute to the legendary old school wedge-shaped Countach of the 70s and 80s. And if you want to see an insane looking old school Countach, Liberty Walk made a crazy wide body variant of it that I just reviewed last week, so check that video out, link down below. So this new rendition is a hybrid V12 hypercar with super sharp angles, really clean surfaces, and a beautiful modern take on that retro design. Of course, however, for PSC, the design wasn't really satisfying with this clean and refined kind of look, so they imagined this Lambo through a cyberpunk lens, as if it were built for the neon-lit chaos of Night City. So let's check that out. And starting off with the box, we've got this really awesome looking carbon fiber finish on it, and it says Countach in these crazy looking cyberpunk style letters. It looks like it's come straight out of the game. And then we've also got this kind of like really cool looking, very cyberpunk, feel like techie kind of lines all over it. And then here it just says PSC Design. Culture is everything Countach LPI800-4 V or 5. And then here it says the same thing, PSC Design. The back says the same, and of course the car itself is made by Timemicro, and we've got a little bit of info there. So let's open it up. And I haven't even actually opened this car before, so I'm in for a shock just as much as you guys are. And wow, the box looks actually really nice without that piece of plastic covering. It's got a really cool looking satin finish. So let's check it out. Timemicro PSC Design. Wow, that's very cool. What's that? PSC Design LPI800-4 Countach, and it's got a picture of a Diablo there and a Countach over there. Wow, okay, nice presentation, and wow. Oh my god, look at that. Jeez, like, wow, that is absolutely insane looking, my word. Okay, well, that's kind of shocking. Jeez, I can't believe this car looks so insane. Look at that. Wow, that is crazy. How's that for a wide body? My word, that is ridiculous. Jeez. Okay, well, let's check the car out properly. So here we've got this cover with a little bit of tape over there. Well, let's get that off. Jeez, like, check at that. Wow, take that all in. That is absolutely insane. My word. Wow. Okay, well, that's an extremely striking looking car. That is insane. You can't really see too much of the original Countach in here. It's kind of lost all that sleekness, and it's gone for this insane technical style look, and it really reflects the style of Lamborghini, and especially to me it looks to be this very modern, sharp, kind of angular sort of design, and that looks absolutely crazy. But let's have a look at it in a little bit more detail. And starting off with the plinth, it just says culture is everything Countach Timemicro x PSC Design. This very nice looking chrome, and once again we've got this very techy cyberpunk style look for the cutout of that as well. And let's check the car art. Jeez, look at this thing. That looks super menacing from this angle. Wow, that is ridiculous. So in terms of the paint finish, we've got this really beautiful looking satin black, and the paint looks really nice actually. You can see like on this front haunch area, you can see how beautifully the light kind of hits off all the surfaces of this car, and it gives it a really technical sort of feel. And of course, Lamborghini are pretty much synonymous with this kind of stealth fighter and like fighter jet kind of visuals that they give to their cars. So this kit really enhances the look of that car, my word. And let's have a look at the details. To be honest, this car is so mad, it's kind of like, I don't even know where to start with this thing. So I'll just do the usual route, and we'll start off with a roof, and I'll bring in the standard variant as well now and then, just to compare the two. So here we go, we've got this typical new Countach style window in the top of the glass. Of course, this one is completely blacked out, so no clear element or anything like that. And just next to that, we've got these two side intakes going into these crazy looking vents that are next to this kind of rear window pane. So you could see, comparing to the Mini GT, this just has a clear window on the top, and we've got these little air intakes over there, but there's no actual like three-dimensionality of it being raised. But this one's actually got some kind of dipped in air intakes, and I really love how crisp and sharp they look. And of course, then we've got these little triangles motif in the top here as well. It kind of forms this sort of hexagonal pattern overall. And now heading into the front window, the car looks absolutely menacing from this angle. I just have to go back to it. That is absolutely wild, my word. Anyways, heading to the front window, you can see a little bit into the interior. There is no graphics or anything, no banner on the window or anything like that. And let's have a look at it comparing to the Mini GT. So the Mini GT, you can see, is a little bit more refined and a bit more crisp, and actually quite a bit more interesting on that steering column sort of part of the dash. I think this kind of lost the detail, but I do like the fact that it's got all this carbon fiber finishes on the edges. It really gives a nice contrast to this black look. And then of course we've got the windscreen wipers, and then heading down into this frontal area, you can see what an insane looking shape this has. It almost looks like a Batmobile or something like that, especially in this color. And even this area has so much detail, it's insane. So let's have a look at the Mini GT quick. So it's kind of simplistic, and we've got this sort of horizontal air intake just underneath the windshield, but we do have a very cool carbon fiber element underneath it. And then of course the typical Countach style front lights and the Lamborghini logo. Pretty simplistic and refined, but really beautiful. So what happens with this one? Well, we've got a full-on delete of the front lights, but we do have the Lamborghini logo, and it says Cyber Countach, and here it says PSC Design. And then now we've got that little graphic element of the carbon fiber that's kind of shifted down over here, and we've got a little bit of an air intake just there as well, and then a bit of an air outlet too. And then here we've got this little square finished off in this typical cyberpunky stripes kind of motif. And looking at the design itself, we've got these really beautiful and crisp looking angles on the surfaces here. So coming all the way from this insanely huge wide body, we've got these air outlets above the wheels, and then you can see how much three-dimensionality we have in these surfaces. It almost looks like satin, and my word, that looks absolutely insane. And then heading a bit further down, you can see once again the Lamborghini logo, and it says LPI800-4, and then we've got two little like pentagon diamond sort of shaped little things there, stickers. And you can see that the headlights have actually shifted down onto the front edge of the car itself. So extremely low profile headlights, completely removed the original ones. and it looks really insane. And I've given you this little close-up view so you can see a little bit more of the detailing in the graphics of this car, and you can see how much three-dimensionality the air outlets have above the wheel as well. So it's really well refined and extremely insane looking. And now with a bit more light, you can see that we've got this kind of flat panel underneath the front area, and then we've also got these two kind of flat sort of spoilers or lip, I suppose, on the front. However, there isn't anything in the center, so it just kind of tucks in really deep in there. And then we've also got this little silver highlighted kind of air intake as well, which looks really beautiful on this car and really helps to add a lot of character. And looking at the original car, let's just check that out. So this one, of course, just has kind of a similar sort of shape actually, but of course it's like a normal kind of look to it rather than this insane double style. And then heading a little bit more to the side, so you can see how beautifully crisp the angles are heading to this front kind of fender area, and you can see it looks extremely wild with this kind of cut. It really does look like some kind of fighter jet or something like that. And then this front lip actually transforms into a kind of side like winglet canard area, and you can see that it's actually got quite a lot of three-dimensionality in there. So you can see where the air would be channeled to go next to the wheel area. And then we've also got a little bit of like graphics over here as well, extremely tiny, so I cannot tell you what it says. And of course we've got this sort of hexagonal kind of shape to the front wheel arches, and we've actually got this little bit of a extremely massive air outlet over there as well, and that just accentuates the fender line of the car, and you can see how crazy that looks. And let's have a look comparing to the original. So of course this had nothing like that whatsoever, but what this does is it accentuates the lines of the original. However, this one did have a kind of hexagonal kind of wheel arch shape as well. But diving back into this one, so we've got these 5 spokes, so they are finished off in this kind of gold color with a black lip, and that looks extremely menacing. And of course it's like a kind of 5-spoke with holes in it, and this really like harks back to the original Lamborghini's design. So the Diablo had kind of wheels like this. Of course the Countach had wheels that were similar in design to this as well. So it's a really cool way to kind of bring back the feeling of the original car into this insane cyberpunk version. And there we've got a little bit of like a ram's head kind of design. And continuing a little bit further, you can see that this wheel arch is cut back quite far after the front wheel. So if we have a look at the original version, you can see it just kind of ended in this hexagon shape, and the door cut actually goes all the way to that front wheel arch. So this one also has the door go all the way to the front wheel arch, but it's actually extended back quite a lot. And then we come to this crazy looking 3-dimensional section over there. So you can see how the air would be channeled through that area, and all the air escaping from these wide body wheels would just kind of exit the car from this angle. And of course then we've got this beautiful carbon fiber side skirt as well. It just kind of finishes off, or it, I suppose, continues the look from the front of the car to the side of the car as well. And then we've got some logos: PSC Design, PSC Family, PSC Design, wow, lots of PSC. And then a few more little cyberpunky looking logos. Come to this insane looking side intake. So you can see it's got this kind of triangular sort of look to it with a lot of 3-dimensionality. And then it heads off into this rear intake, just finished off in this carbon fiber. And of course, you can also see that it's got this sort of orange chevron kind of motif that really helps to accentuate the shape of the body. And also it kind of reminds me of those like air intake stripe thingies that they usually have for fighter jets and those sort of things, where they show the intake. And then there is a little bit more cyberpunky logo, almost looks like a QR code. And then you can even see the door handles underneath there. And comparatively, this is the original car, so you can see it's actually got quite a lot of three-dimensionality as well, and even got this really awesome looking carbon fiber texture contrasting this white. So they really did an excellent job in kind of simulating that. And if you look in there, there is a sort of grille structure with these horizontal stripes on the intake as well. So extremely nice attention to detail. And then we have beautiful looking shut lines on the doors. And then here as well, it just says LPI800-4. We've got the side DLO, so the windows are nice and clear. And it's pretty much the same on the Mini GT. So we've got these kind of air intakes finished off in black and heading to this air intake on the rear deck lid, heading to cool the engine. So let's have a look at the treatment over here. So you can see that we've got those little side intakes once again, but the treatment on this intake has a little bit more character with this sharp sort of angular look over here. This is more of a reminder of the original Countach. So if you look at it like this, it almost looks like this car could have been based on the original version, more sort of similar to that Liberty Walk rather than this new variant. But it kind of struck me that this car was actually based on the new Countach. It almost looks like the old school one. So that's a very nice little touch. And then, of course, here it says Cyber Countach once again. And then here I'll just zoom in so you can see how much three-dimensionality this car has. There we've got some air intakes, but it's not cut out or anything like that. But it looks pretty awesome though. I really love the angles of this car. I think they've done an excellent job, and geez, like look at that geometry, it's just insane. And then here it says number 22. Is that a 22? I think it could be. And then you can see this abrupt cut as well in this rear wheel arch. Of course, it's an extremely huge wide body, so you can see how much it kind of sticks away from the rear wheel. And once again, we've got that sort of hexagon shape for the rear wheel arch. That same kind of looking, almost like QR codey, very cyberpunk sort of look to this little sticker over there. And you can see it's got quite a lot of hexagonal shapes over here in the design. Once again, kind of accentuating the lines of the original. So you can see this kind of rear haunch area, and pretty much it's been like squared off and made to look insane. And continuing to the rear wheels, I've removed the car from its base because I actually want to see if they spin, and indeed they do, and same as the front. Not too freely, but it does spin. And to be honest, it looks to be that there is some kind of a brake structure. So there you can see the calipers just a little bit behind it. It looks pretty simplistic, nothing crazy, just looks like a sort of simple kind of disc behind there. And the fronts also have a tiny bit of detailing, but it's not too much as far as I can see. But they do spin really nice and freely, you can see, and it looks really insane with that black exterior and that gold interior. My word, it's so menacing. And you can see how wide the car is here as well. So actually, let's put the original here as well. So we've got the same kind of distance of the wheels, pretty much it's the same scale. So let me put this on that end over there, and then you can see this is how much wider this new variant is. So that's quite a lot of extra depth and width added to the car as well. But of course, let's carry on with the design itself. So we've got another thing that says PSC Design, and once again you've got this hexagonal sort of style, extremely crisp looking, very geometric and sharp looking surfacing, and it just looks extremely insane. And then similar treatment to the front, so we've got this kind of bumper delete on the rear, and then all the air that comes off these wheels can just kind of be channeled straight out the back here. And then we've got this massive sort of carbon fiber diffuser, almost acting like a wing, finished off in this carbon fiber. And that looks extremely insane. My word, it's like super extreme. That is crazy. And you would think, you know, to add a whole bunch of blades, Cyberpunk is very much, you know, they have a lot of detail in cars, especially lots of horizontal blades. So I would have thought they'd put some kind of diffuser with tons of strakes in the rear, but this one's actually gone for the full deleted look. So that's really insane. And let's check it out comparing to the original. So the original actually has sort of a bumper delete in the rear as well, and we've got a little bit of an air outlet channeling the air from the wheels as well as the engine bay. And then we've got the center mounted exhaust here as well, and not exactly a huge diffuser or anything like that, definitely no strakes or anything. And then we've got a huge kind of air outlet in the center, 2 on the side, and then we've got these triple kind of long elongated hexagon style lights. So let's actually have a look at the treatment on this one. So this one's gone for that full-on like Batmobile style look. Once again, we've got the engine completely exposed. You can see the exhausts sticking through the rear, and of course the exhaust just on the side as well. And we've got this really cool Y-shaped sort of rear lights as well. And then just on the back, we've actually got a little bit of a red kind of strip running all the way along the edge. So I imagine that's where the lights would be. And then the actual lights themselves have been completely deleted. And you can see that the rear lights themselves, it almost acts like a blade. So you can see how thin it is, and it just looks absolutely insane. Wow, this thing is crazy. And you can see how far the exhausts stick out as well. And you've got a little bit of detailing in there as well, not too much. And let's have a look. I can't really see too much else there. And let's see about the front, if we can see any more details from this sort of angle. So yeah, there you can see those kind of air intakes, and man, this thing looks absolutely wild from any kind of angle. And then heading to this rear deck lid, we've got these kind of lines running at a diagonal angle, similar to the little ones on the front. And then we've got this carbon fiber texture wing. And it's kind of interesting. You can see the diffuser in the back is kind of angled in towards the car, and then the wing is doing like an opposite angle. So the center exhausts, or this kind of section over there, is like shooting through in a very hexagonal kind of pattern on the car, and that's pretty awesome. And then of course we come to this iconic looking wing, and the reason it's so iconic looking is that of course it's a reimagining of the Countach's wing. So that wing was originally designed by Walter Wolf, and it was called the Walter Wolf wing. So that wing actually had to be retrofitted outside the Lamborghini factory, because it wasn't something that Lamborghini offered you know, officially, but of course they could do it. They could retrofit it just right after even coming out of the factory floor. So it's a pretty interesting thing. And here it says PSC Design, and it only says it on one side, so on the other side it doesn't say anything else. And here you go, we can see the beautiful engine of this Lamborghini Countach. Of course, it's got the 6.5 liter V12 hybrid. It's the same as the Lamborghini Sian, and it pushes out 814 horsepower. And of course, it's all-wheel drive, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour in 2.8 seconds, with a top speed of 355 kilometers per hour or 220 miles per hour. So this car is no slouch, and the design language of this car really accentuates the speed that this thing would offer. And I can just imagine this thing driving through Night City. I wish there was some kind of a DLC to put this car into the game. That would be absolutely incredible. But of course, let's head into the opposite side as well. So once again, design wise, it pretty much looks the same. It says PSC Design there, which was the same case on the other side as well. And then once again, we've got this kind of 22 logo, or at least I think it's 22. And here's a little F looking logo. I don't know if we had that on the other side. Yeah, we did. So yeah, it's pretty much the same on both sides of the car, but it looks absolutely ridiculous. And let's have a look on the interior and see what we can see. So we've got these kind of Lamborghini style seats in there, which actually reminds me of the seats that are in the Sian as well. So I'm not sure if we can have a look at this one too well. And yeah, you can see that they've got this kind of bolsters on the Mini GT one, and you can see quite a lot of three-dimensionality in the center console over there. So it's actually got some really nice seats, to be honest. And then you can see that we've got the steering wheel in there with the Lamborghini logo as well. So let's have a look at this one over here. And yeah, it pretty much looks to be the same kind of seats. Once again, you can see the kind of center console in there, or the light is reflecting a little bit. And you can even see that we've got a little bit of like buttons, just finished off in silver, accentuating this kind of carbon fiber centerpiece. Wow, it's actually got so much details in this car. I'm really surprised. They've done an incredible job. And there you go, I've moved the light for you a little bit so you can see that center console, and once again you can see the steering wheel just in there. And I also wanted to show you the engine bay of the original car. So there you have it. It's pretty much the exact same design. It's got this kind of X-shaped cross brace. However, it does look a little bit different. This one's got a lot of triangular sort of sections in the center, and this one's actually got quite a lot of nice contrast with this gold color. And it would be nice to see through the center like we can see on the Mini GT, but I think the look of this black just really adds a menacing touch to the car. And well, what do I think about this car? Well, in simple terms, I absolutely love it. This thing looks just so insane and completely menacing. This entire look of this car looks like it's been kind of armored with this sort of angular like armor plating. It's super aggressive and it's almost chaotic in design. The wheels look like they were kind of scavenged off some Countach and some bits from some futuristic wasteland. And it's got these insane looking vents. Everything is super crisp and extremely futuristic. It's got super like Blade Runner vibes. And of course, the color palette with this extremely blacked out matte color. It looks very stealthy. And of course, it's got these almost like neon color white sort of slashing through the matte black panels. And of course, the car's shape is absolutely ridiculous. We've got so many vents and air intakes all over the place. And I mean, is it functional? Maybe, but intimidating? Absolutely, for sure. It's not just a car, it's more like a character. I wish that this thing was in Cyberpunk. You could imagine Johnny Silverhand, or maybe he's more of a Porsche guy, but I would definitely use him or her to take out this beast on the crazy neon-filled streets of Night City. And of course, comparing it to the original, just over here, you can see how PSC stripped away all the kind of elegance for this raw personality. What was once the sleek and subtle surfacing and this harking back to the original Countach, it's now been completely exchanged into this brutal, super expressive and completely unapologetic sci-fi sort of look. I love seeing models like this. They're not just collectibles, but more canvases for creativity. And of course, PSC Design has done an insane job making even a hypercar look as crazy as this. They have shown that these things can be hacked, modded, and turned into something entirely new. And of course, for me as a designer, this actually gives me quite a lot of inspiration. So I was thinking for a future video, I might even design some kind of a futuristic Lamborghini myself, maybe like a Reventon or Revo Alto, and possibly even create it in a 1:64 style version. So thanks PSC Models for giving me some awesome inspiration. But of course, until then, you can grab one of these insane Timemicro ones for around about 20 to 30 pounds at the moment. They're available pretty much anywhere online currently. And of course, I always love to hear what you guys have to say. Do you guys like this really insane looking Cyber Countach by PSC Design, or do you prefer something like this Liberty Walk Countach of the original style? Or do you like something like this, which is of course the Lamborghini Countach reimagined by Lamborghini themselves? Let me know which one you prefer and which one you will be buying, or have you bought them already? And of course, don't forget to check out the video of the Liberty Walk Countach just over there, which will be posted down below. And I was so inspired by this Cyber Countach that I tried to make a little outro video for you guys. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but I hope you guys enjoy it nonetheless. And of course, thank you to everybody for watching. I hope you guys have had fun. and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take it easy. Ciao.